spent 18 years wondering why my parents would never let me change my name. Then I found out the real reason. My name was not Liam, it was Bernice. My parents named me after my great-grandmother because her will contained a specific condition. Any firstborn child named after her would inherit half her estate when they turned 18. My parents wanted that money, so they gave me the name and figured I would just carry it until the check arrived. When I was small, I did not fully understand why it felt wrong. I just knew that something was off. My mom would introduce me to strangers at the supermarket and at school events and tell them proudly about the name and what it meant financially. People would smile politely while looking at me standing there in my football kit with absolutely no idea what to do with any of that information. Kindergarten was when it became a real problem. First day of class, the teacher called the register and said Bernice Collins, and every single head in that room turned to find whoever that was. A boy named Connor laughed so hard he slid off his chair. From that morning forward, I had a new set of names that were not my name. Bernice the Barnacle, Bernice the Baby, every single day without a break. Tunt, I begged my parents to let me use my middle name, Owen. It was right there, normal, easy. Nobody would blink at Owen. My mom would look at me with this tight expression and say that name is your future, and you are not throwing it away. My dad would find something else to look at and change the subject entirely. By third grade, I had stopped raising my hand in class. If a teacher called on me, the room would shift. I started finding reasons to eat lunch somewhere that was not the cafeteria. I became very good at being invisible. Middle school was worse in the specific way that middle school makes everything worse. My legal name lived in every school database, which meant every substitute teacher, every awards assembly, and every honor roll announcement over the intercom was another moment I had to survive. Someone wrote something on my locker in permanent marker that took 3 weeks to fade completely. I tried going by just B for a while. It worked for almost 2 months. Then a supply teacher read the full register out loud with a wide smile and said, "Oh, what a wonderful old-fashioned name." And I walked out of the classroom. 3-day suspension. My parents were furious. Not because I was struggling, because I had caused an inconvenience. My dad told me 2 more years and I would understand why it was all worth it. I stopped going to school regularly after that. When I did show up, I wore the same hoodie every day and sat at the back and kept my head completely down. The name had stopped being embarrassing by then. It had become something I genuinely hated about myself. I started doing things to cope that I am not proud of and that I needed real help to move through later. Senior year, I applied to a design program I had been working toward since I was 12, spent months on the portfolio, submitted everything. The system flagged an inconsistency. My legal name on my academic records did not match the name I had used on the application because I could not bring myself to type Bernice one more time. They rejected the submission and told me to resubmit with matching documents. By the time I worked out how to resolve it, the deadline had closed. I turned 18 that year. My mom started talking about the celebration and the money and everything they had been planning. The executor of the estate called and asked to meet with me. I expected a straightforward handover. What I got was different. The executor was a woman named Miss Alderton, who had known my great-grandmother personally for decades. She sat across from me and said, "Your great-grandmother wanted to support someone who carried her spirit forward, not someone the name had taken something from." She told me I would need to demonstrate in court that the name had caused genuine documented harm before the inheritance could be released. My mother's reaction to that information was not quiet. I hired a lawyer. The process took 2 years. Former teachers gave testimony about when I stopped participating. My school counselor spoke about the documented bullying. I had to present medical records. I had to stand in a courtroom and say out loud that I had hated my own name so completely that it had changed how I saw myself for years. That was the hardest hour of my life. The judge ruled in my favor. The same week I walked into the courthouse and filed the paperwork to change my name, legally and permanently, to Liam Owen Collins. I watched the clerk stamp the documents and I sat there in that plastic chair and cried in a way I had not let myself cry in years. Not because of the money, because I finally had a name that felt like mine, and nobody could take it back.